Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF 44 coming at you in another video. All right, so figured I'd wake up, do a therapy session. Thankful that my uncle came through for me in regards to the gift that he was going to provide, and of course, I gotta let the SARS people know that that came through. So this is also a reminder to myself to take care of business. But yeah, man, just very thankful that happened. You know, humbled by the circumstance and hopeful that I can make good decisions, that I'll make it so that I don't need to ask for anything else or need anything else or what have you. I don't take for granted the fact that I have a family that can do this. Many people I know of do not. And, you know, it's what it is. You know, you appreciate what you have, and people have various opportunities to, or various levels of support in their lives. And what I hope to become is a human being that can provide that support for others as I'm getting off of my feet, getting off of my knees, trying to get on my feet. Hopefully, when I do get on my feet, I can remember how humble my circumstances was, how I caused them with my choices, whether my intentions were pointed in the right direction or not. It was important that I got my soul in the right place. So that's what I did. You know, I wanted I want everybody to know that I've been praying a lot, and as I've struggled, you know, I've kept close to God, and as a result, I don't take the blessings I have for granted, and can't wait to put forth the energy necessary to make the right decisions to assure that, you know, I can control what it is that happens in my own life in the future. You know, having more overall self-awareness, self-control, self-respect, as I always pray about, and just overall putting forth the effort necessary to continue to invest in myself, as I've been doing over the last couple of years. So that's what it is. I don't take what I have for granted. I feel some guilt, but I don't think that that's good energy, telling you to feel guilty about what it is that you are able to receive, but more so to, again, just put yourself in a position to be that support for others and pay it forward. That's what I would tell you, whether you have all that you need and more, or someone who's been given something when you really need it the most. The best thing you can do is to try to pay it forward. So that's what I'm going to try to do. In the meantime, art has been my focus. Like I said, the content in my previous videos, I told you guys content's going to be a little difficult in the summertime, just in general, in regards to basketball, because there's not a whole lot to talk about. But when there is something to talk about, I will bring it to you regularly. And as far as everything else, man, of course, follow me on Art Deviant. That's what the new thing is. BDF 44. Spell it out just like you do on YouTube. Check out all this art I've been putting on there, man. I've been putting a lot of art on there, and been getting some good responses on some key pieces. So I'm starting to realize what people like that I do. So that's an eye opener. When you start to realize what exactly, quote unquote, works for you. What I'm trying to figure out about Art Deviant is it that I put certain pieces up at a certain time so that the traffic on those pieces are based on the hour from which I've posted, or is it the fact that they like those pieces and more people gravitate toward those particular pieces? I ain't figured that out yet, because I know when I'm posting around 6 o'clock, whatever it is I'm doing usually gets a little more view, and I'd imagine that makes sense, people getting off work or what have you. So that's just kind of what I'm doing. I'm studying what works, what doesn't, trying to keep my mind interested in creating more new types of art pieces. I think what I've found myself doing is lulling into some of the same concepts over and over again, and even though they're new to everyone else, what they start to become is a little run-of-the-mill for me. And just like I created those concepts, the desire to create new ones must be in place if you're going to be a fresh artist. So that's kind of where my head is, and just appreciating the fact that I have this hobby in place, and I'm continuing to have a passion for it as I continue forward. When you do as many as I've done, you would think you would lose passion for it. I have not. So the desire to do more pieces is in place. I made some good ones last night, and rediscovering my own art, I think, is what ultimately can be really beneficial for people who've done a lot of work already and don't often go back over your old work. What I'm finding as an artist is that I re-inspire myself by going back to stuff that I did early on before I established some of these run-of-the-mill concepts, to say, wow, when I was looking for concepts, boy, was I much more imaginative, much more bold. And so it's like I can get back to that, look at what I was doing then, and kind of start doing more of that now. So that's what going over my old art has done, is reestablish what it is I was doing, rather than just kind of falling into some stuff that just It's copy and paste at this point. So yeah, man, I encourage everybody to put a lot of effort into whatever you love to do, or find something that you may think you love to do and start doing it a lot. And that's what I've done with art. I ain't no good at it, quote unquote, but I am someone who's creative and found a style that works and that others are gravitating toward, especially certain pieces that I put a lot of effort into. I'm finding that the more detail I put into it, the more people tend to gravitate toward it. And so detail is important in art, it seems, but I think less is more just the same. So trying to find a balance of what works for me, and to remember not to do this art for others, because all the best pieces I made, I wasn't thinking about sharing. I was more so just feeling what I was feeling. So all of those balances are important for an artist, and that's what I'm starting to find. So yeah, man, I appreciate that the Lord has given me so very many different things that I can do, and that I'm trying to put forth some type of effort into that at this point. So that's what it is, man. I got my workout doing. I'm in the middle of my squat regimen. As I was telling you guys, I was down for about 5 days with my elbow, but I'm 100% with that finally, and so I can get back to what it is I was doing beforehand. It's hot, so it wasn't the time to be taking no 5 days off, because it makes for a harder workout. You usually want to work out straight through the heat if you're someone who doesn't have air conditioning in your crib. So meaning every single day deal with it, rather than taking days off and then trying to get back to it with your body not 100% in shape. So I've been stretching good, doing all that stuff, eating as best I could, even though I've had some real issues with this food. But nevertheless, with the gift that I have, I can get myself a fridge, which is something that needs to be prioritized today. And so that should change some things around here dramatically in regards to what I'm capable of with my diet. And even though I'm not going to be in this apartment for much longer, a little mini fridge is definitely something that I should probably get before I leave here. And so that is where my head is right now. And just thankful that my family came through and gave me something that can allow me to just breathe a little bit. When you have money concerns on your heart at all times, it can become a bit much. And even though I've been adamant about not going back to work and doing security, I still feel the weight of what happens when you don't. And to be in a position to be fortunate to have a family that can help me out allows me to understand that I'm in a privileged position from which this would not be possible. And so that conditioning is something that I am going to have to work my way around if I want to survive in this world and put myself in a position to be that productive human being that I want to be. I can't allow myself to continue to get this bad and then say, yay, family can help me, praise God. It's like, nah, that's weakness making you someone that continues to be in a position of need. And so that's where we are at right now. I'm not looking to move forward with that weakness, and those conditionings that made me this way need to go away. And that's why I'm looking forward to my therapy session on the 3rd. You know what I mean? I'm looking forward to that. And I'm also looking forward to just putting myself in a position to continue to try to work against what it is that comes naturally to me, which is to convince myself not to do things I need to do and then agonize over not having what's needed. So that is the struggle, and that is what needs to go away. Forgive me for continuing to walk over to that fan. It's just a habit of walking around this house, as you guys know. It does mess with the audio quite a bit though. But yeah, man, in a humble mood, feeling pretty good. Very good, actually. Relieved, but also still tense because the circumstances are as they are. And I know the sheriffs will be here any day. I'm certain of that. So not finding an apartment and not getting anywhere with GR and SI does leave you feeling a little uneasy about how living is going to be going forward into the birthday month, which is August. So got that birthday coming up, 39, very soon. I feel good, not as good as I'd like to feel with those 5 days off of that working out, but I'll get my condition to where I want it to be, so I will feel good. But at any rate, that's pretty much what I gotta say, man. This is the kind of days that I'm living right now. The summer doesn't provide much compelling content, and honestly, a lot of the stuff that's going on out there, it's just not. I don't care to talk about Mitch McConnell and his circumstance and not being able to speak on stage. That was something that would probably otherwise be a talking point. I don't care to speak about that. I just feel like at the end of the day, power is something that people do not feel they want to let go of. And wisdom is something that in power people value a great deal, and people who happen to have wisdom are people who've been here for a very long time. So that's really what it is. It's that those who are in place are afraid to let those who they feel are lacking in wisdom make change, and that's what they're worried about. And so, as long as they have that power, they don't have to hold themselves accountable for walking away. And they can always justify it by saying, well, we just know more. It's probably wiser to let us continue to run things, even though they can barely do so at this point. And so that's what it comes down to. We know that. And it just comes to a point where we just have to say the wisdom is going to have to be understanding that you guys are going to have to retire regardless, and that wisdom is going to have to be passed on to others who are younger to take over anyway. So having lifetime positions that hold so much power ultimately means that it's going to be significant change overnight when you no longer simply are. And you're going to leave. How that goes, if you're never going to retire, then it's just going to be overnight. Just like a king, power is going to shift. And I just don't think that's a good thing when someone's had power for freaking 50, 60 years. And so if ever there was anything I could say in regards to that, it's just that we need to have a little more trust in regards to our country. A little more trust. The old guys who are now in a space where they have to retire are going to have to trust that the people who may not be as wise as them may understand the world around them a bit better than they do anyway. And that can equate to them being decent leaders just the same. And if you don't believe, and this speaks to something else, and you deprave people of what it is they actually need to run the country, whatever this means. I don't know nothing. I'm just speaking out loud. But when you deprave people of what it is they actually need because you want to continue to hold power, when you need to shift that power, you obviously they're not going to be equipped to take that power because you didn't tell them everything they needed to know. And that's one of the reasons why people want to hold on to power until they're 107 years old, because they're holding secrets that need to be held intact. You understand what I'm saying? There's a lot of that kind of crap going on too. People who need favors, and that person's in place so that they can continue to funnel those favors. And if that person's removed, those favors are not in place, everything collapses. It's a lot of skullduggery that I know is real when you're considering this country and how it was built, how they ultimately operate, and then from there, how power would otherwise need to be shifted from those who've had it for this long. I just get it. I understand they're afraid to let young people have it. And it's partially because they depraved them of the wisdom that would otherwise allow them to take it, because they didn't want them to take it. But you were never immortal, old friends. You were never immortal. So how was this going to work? You didn't care. And that was the problem. And that's why I speak the way I do, because at the end of the day, they come from a world where they flat out cared not. They didn't need to. They had a lot of things sewed up, and the world was set up so that they can enjoy themselves, and other people were taking less, and it was agreed upon, and that was it. That's the world they're coming from. Most take less. We rise to the top from within our privilege, and now, everything's established so that we keep it. But if the internet is incorporated into the circumstance before you die, now you got to adjust to the new world, and all of your wisdoms don't hold as much weight because you can't operate in this technology world the way you're supposed to. So how can you lead the world if you don't operate the functionality within it as an expert? You can't properly function within this new space. So it's like you need to move out the way anyway, so you can let some people who understand this have control over what it is that ultimately they run, because you're running something that doesn't even run the way it used to. So it's like, how wise are you? Not wise. What you are is in place and don't have to hold yourself accountable for being removed, which is why you're not gone. And nobody else in place, because of your structure, has the ability to remove you, which is also why you're not gone. So all of this is it's politics. And the reason why all of it is in place is like a game of Jenga. You remove the wrong piece, everything falls apart. And I notice our financial structure is the same way. That's why they haven't fixed some of the problems in the stock market, because they ain't figured out how to keep everything from collapsing if they do. It's the same way. Lies built this country. So of course certain things ain't gonna make any damn sense. And that, my friends, is the bottom line. That's the bottom line. That's why you got a person who's 107 years old, we know damn well can barely stand up, still trying to make decisions for everybody else. It's because he is probably a Jenga piece. And they don't want to remove him unless he's absolutely no longer with us. And that type of stuff is like, yo, this is why an act of God is going to help a lot of things, because he's going to ultimately be able to reveal to us the reasoning behind a lot of stuff that we don't necessarily think makes any sense, but it's been in a place to be agreed upon for years and years and years. It's no different than I look at some of the things that we have going on with value. The rubber meets the road with your value. When you keep picking and plugging and giving some people more than you give others, eventually you're going to see the glaring hole in the situation. And we're seeing it in the NFL with the running back position. The economics of it all just shows you exactly where the hole is. There it is. There's the hole. The people trying to figure out, well, how is it that running backs aren't getting the money they're supposed to have? Well, the system itself is in place to assure that they can push around money in whatever way they see fit. So, of course, they manipulate it in such a way to make it look fair until you get to the crux of where it actually has a hole in it, where you see where the real dent is in the structure of the thing. And that's what it is. They get to treat people however they want to treat them based on the structures of the money and how the money's supposed to move around based on the economics, but they're really picking and plugging money in places they're probably not supposed to. So the money ain't going to add up if you really get to the crux of it, and that is where the crux is. That is where the hole is. That is where the chink in the armor is, right there. That running back position and how they're able to just pay those guys very little, regardless of how well they've performed, just based on their age and expectancies for how healthy they're supposed to be. That is bull crap. And we know it. Why? Because the running back is one of the most overused positions in the game. A lot of times they're going to give the running back the ball more than they give the ball to anybody else. And they're going to throw it to him more than they throw it to anybody else. So that type of stuff is like, yo, you trying to tell me you're going to pay a wide receiver when I have his duties and my own? You're going to pay the wide receiver all the money in the world. You're going to give quarterbacks all the money in the world. But I have to run the ball, I have to block, and in certain situations, I have to catch it. And some running backs have to catch it more than wide receivers do. In some cases, it's like, man, stop playing around. Y'all know damn well this is some bull crap. You know damn well this is where your economics and your unfairness found it's right there. It doesn't make sense, and you know it. Right there, it doesn't. And you see that in all different facets of life and economics. If you just look for the whole, you're going to find where the unfairness is found. Why? Because at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, the market that we engage in is a capitalistic market. And what does capital mean? Who gets to the top? At the capital, the top. There has to be a foundation. What is that foundation? It's poverty. Poverty is a foundation of capitalism. It is what it's built upon. So if there's no one down there either willingly or non-willingly providing that foundation in their poverty, it won't be there. So they're going to force certain people into circumstances where that poverty is in place. And the chink is in the armor. You're going to see those circumstances fall into place when you look in certain spots. Like, oh, so this is how they absolutely justify overusing somebody and underpaying somebody, because it makes sense in the numbers. But if they push the walls around in certain situations, they, of course, can make the numbers move exactly the way they want it to move. And that's how they do it. As I always tell people, just like I say in other avenues of circumstances, how do they control you while you're trying to do whatever you're doing, your ambition? They control the walls around you. You are not control of the environment. You may be able to have your ambition. You may be able to grab your people. You may be able to do all kinds of stuff. But at the end of the day, they just press a button and all of a sudden you all squash together. And that is how economics works. At the end of the day, nobody has a fair shot at nothing. You just got to find out where the chink in the armor is and pay attention to it. Pay attention to it. And see where they're moving the wall so that the number will fit the way they want it to. And so that's what I'm telling y'all, man. Yes, it's going to make sense in regards to that running back situation. It's all smart. It's all going to line up, and the numbers all this and the third. But at the end of the day, what are they ignoring? The usage. They're going to run these dudes into the ground, not let them come into the league soon enough to make the money that they're ultimately supposed to be getting. And by the time they get to the league, they already have basically year 4, year 5 bodies on an expectancy for a position that's only supposed to go 7 years. So the answer is obviously to let the kids in sooner so they can get the money. You're going to let them do that? Hell no. Why? Because that's the wall. That's the wall they get to press to assure that the numbers make sense. But in actuality, it's that part. It's that part that is manipulated. They control the walls, man. I keep telling y'all. This is why I don't believe in going out there when you're somebody who doesn't. And when I say out there, I mean outside in the streets, because it's the same parallel, different application, same pattern. You're going to go out there, fam, sell whatever you're going to sell, do whatever you're going to do. Understand that the game itself is to funnel you into prison. That's the game. They're gonna pin you against somebody else and clean up the streets. It's a business, fam. So if you're gonna be human cattle for these people, that's exactly what it is. And they're gonna put the little bait out there for you. What's the bait? The drugs, whatever it is. It's bait, fam. You are not going out there with your ambition. You are being given a bait. You ever seen cartoons have like a little string attached to the dollar? I know I've said this on this camera once before on one of my therapy sessions. It's the same analogy. You take the dollar and then put the string on it, and whatever you're trying to bait, you just pull the string, and they're gonna chase the dollar. Pull the string, chase the dollar, pull the string, chase the dollar until you ultimately bring that dollar to a trap. They fall into that trap, chasing that dollar. Boom, you got them. It's the same thing. That's what all of that is. It's meant to bait you and your ambition and your greed and your fear for poverty and your need to keep up with the Joneses and all these different things that come to you naturally because you just have to be. You're human. They use those things to control the walls. They control the wall. And so when you go out there and take on that temptation and all your ambition, I'm a gangster, I can do all I want to do. Okay, cool. You go out there and they trap you. They entrap the people you love, the people who work with you, the people you do business with, your homies, whoever it is. They entrap them into circumstances where they get 1 trillion years or turn on you. So what are they going to do? They're going to turn on you. Why? To keep from having to sit in jail forever. Right? So that's just the game. It's like, I don't understand why people even sign up for that if you're not looking for certain things. Like, why are you're looking for loyalty in a space where people are looking to do bad, trying to do evil, trying to sell poison to one another, exploit one another, traffic one another. And you think the people that you're working with who are willing to take those chances with their lives and their souls are going to do anything in regards to being loyal to you? How does one convince themselves of this if not of some sorcery that's in place that is demonic in nature, that's ultimately meant to coerce you towards spaces that are not meant for you? You have to ignore that part. Like, yo, none of this speaks to goodness, unselfishness, loyalty, sacrifice, any of that. The only thing we try to do is get money. So when someone's trying to get money, what the hell are they trying to do? They're trying to feed themselves and whoever it is they're trying to pay. Fam, they are not looking to display an unselfish trait that would otherwise sacrifice some of those things for the betterment of whatever the hell has nothing to do with them. The sheer nature of what they're doing is trying to get something for themselves at the expense of God knows whoever else that gets affected by what it is they're doing. So why in the hell are they going to be loyal to anybody for which they're doing that too? Well, not only do they have that mindset, but they know that you do too because you're right next to them. It doesn't make any sense. It never does. And for those who keep getting entrapped in it, I'm telling y'all, it's demonic in nature because that single piece of understanding is clear to see. It's clear. It's there for you to see. You're seeing examples of it all over your circumstance, and yet you are going to apply the oblivion that you are not gonna have to deal with that. Like, nah, I got my people ain't never. I heard G Herbo say my people ain't never gonna snitch on me, fam. They're gonna apply the psychology to the minds that they've applied this to 1 trillion times because everybody continues to fall into this trap. So they get better at it every time. They know how to break your little homie, fam. They know how to break your big homie. Do you know how